Good day, grade 12s. Welcome to your revision lesson on life science. And we are going to be looking at life sciences paper 1. And this paper was written in November 2022. We are going to be analyzing questions. I'm going to be giving you some few tips on how to answer questions in your exam. Okay, so what I always tell students is that when you're writing a life science exam, always have with you your pencil and don't be afraid to use your question paper because usually in most times most schools you are allowed to take your question paper home, so it is your question paper, so don't be afraid to write on it. Okay, before you start inking down and writing down your answers in your answer sheet, first just go over everything, or you can first make some few notes just to remind yourself on your answer on your question paper. Don't be afraid to write on your question paper. So this question is coming from the section plants response to the environment. Before you start answering the questions, grade 12, you must read, and you must read to understand. Exons, okay? So you would highlight exons. So immediately, use that blank part. Start reminding yourself, what are exons? We know that exons are plant hormones, right? They are plant hormones. They promote what? They promote the development of fruit. So you would be writing this down in your question paper, just to remind yourself what you know. Plant hormones, they promote the development of fruit. They promote the development of advantageous roots. Advantageous roots. So you would write it down. What else do exons do? Exons promote the growth of vascular tissue. So you are just writing all of this down in your answer sheet, just to remind yourself what exons are and what they do. So they are plant hormones, and what do they do? They promote the development of fruit. They do what? They also promote the development of advantageous roots. They also promote the growth of vascular tissue. So it could be anything that you have learned in class, just to remind yourself, because you haven't started answering the questions, but you are just reminding yourself what exons do. Okay, where are exons produced? You start asking yourself that question. Remember that exons are produced at the root tip and the growing point of stems. Okay, they are also responsible in what? In tropic movement. Tropic movement. So you are writing all of this down. You see, just to quickly remind yourself what you have learned. Okay, and what happens in the tropic movement and all of that. You write it down. Okay, they are involved in phototropism, and they're also involved in geotropism, and they are involved in geotropism. I tell you, grade 12, if you start doing this now, by the time you're writing your final exam, you will be in top shape. This is just to quickly remind yourself. And I know some other students will say, memory if I run out of time. You won't run out of time, okay? Because you're going to be quickly doing this. You're going to be quickly doing this. It's not going to take you the whole entire time. So it says exons control different aspects of growth and development in plants. They are also known to influence the growth of stems. So they are also involved in what? Stem elongation. They also stimulate the development of new roots. And you know what those new roots are called? Advantageous roots. And the development of new roots on stem cuttings in plant propagation. Okay, so during plant propagation, a stem of a plant is cut and is then placed in water containing small quantities of artificial exons. The exons stimulate root development in the cuttings. Okay, so I don't know if you have done this experiment before in school, but this is a sort of experiment where they would cut the a stem, they will put the stem inside the water, and then they will put small quantities of artificial exons. What do you think will happen? From that stem, you'll see that roots will begin to develop. You'll see that leaves will begin to develop. Okay, so now we have an idea of what they are talking about here. So you can read over again, what the question says. Sometimes you might not know what plant propagation is, but because you know what exons do, because you've written it down, you know exactly what exons do, you will rely on that information. Sorry about that. You will rely on that information that, what, even if I don't know what plant propagation is, but I know that whenever exons are introduced, exons promote growth. Okay? So then it says name two places in plants where exons are produced. Grade 12, you see it's 2 marks, so you need to name two places, not one place, not 5 places, but two places. And what are those two places? Then you would say it at the tip of the stem and at the tip of the roots. That is where you find exons being produced. Then it says state two ways in which exons cause an increase in the length of the stems. Now you have to go back to the information that you have learnt in class. Remember, we said exons stimulate cell division. Cell division. So, in order for cells to divide, in order for mitosis to happen, it is because of exons. So exons aid in cell division and cell elongation, meaning that cells becoming longer, cell elongation. So state two ways in which exons increase the length of the stems. It's through cell division because as the cells divide, the longer the stem is going to become and the longer the stem is going to grow. Cell elongation, as the cells become longer, the length of the stem is also going to become longer. All right, so you now rely on information that you have learned. Cell division is mitosis, right? Remember mitosis, and then cell elongation is when just cells are becoming longer. So then you would write your correct answer there. Name one other plant hormone that causes an increase in the length of stems. So remember, grade 12s, there are how many hormones you learned about? How many hormones did you learn about? Let's say you learned about, let's take the first three basic ones. You learned about exons, right? Then you learned about gibberellins, right? And let's make sure we have the correct spelling. Gibberellins. Then you learned about abscisic acid. Abscisic acid. Now, oh, my spelling. I'm good in science, but spelling. Okay. So these are the three plant hormones you learnt about. The first two, we said that they promote growth. The first two promote what? Growth. These first two, they promote what? Growth. But this one inhibits growth. This one inhibits growth. Exons and gibberellins are two plant hormones that always promote growth, but abscisic acid inhibits growth. So if it says name one other plant hormone that causes an increase in the length of stems, obviously the correct answer is gibberellins. Okay, not exons because exons have already been mentioned in this case study. 3.5. Explain how exons can be used in plant propagation to the advantage of nature conservation. Okay, so how can exons are plant hormones, that what promote growth. Can be used in plant propagation. Propagation is when you use the stem, just only the stem, and the stem is able to produce what? Is able to produce the roots, the leaves, and also the flower of the plant to the advantage of nature conservation. And the answer is 2 marks. Okay? So if we are doing that, what are we able to do? It means we are able to save certain plants from facing extinction. How is that? We are able to just cut their stem and store their stem, and that stem can be used to grow that plant. So we are saving certain plants from being extinct. We are also increasing plant growth because all it takes is just to have a stem and artificial axons, and then you have a whole new plant. Okay, so I hope you understood how to go over questions like this when we are looking at plants' response to the environment. If you have any questions, please make sure that you comment down below. If there's something that you want to ask, comment down below. If you have a comment, please make sure you comment down below and don't forget to subscribe.